Hello and welcome to Spare Change Podcast. Today I will be discussing a recap of my event in Nashville, MilMoneyCon. We went for the second year. Um, so from the 26th to the 29th of April, we went for the full event and a little extra on the front and the back side of it. Wednesday, my wife had some motion sickness from travel. American Airlines is only so reliable in how they get you to where you're going. Never guaranteed a smooth ride, especially in economy class. So I advise anyone who's planning on traveling to have everything that you need prepped, whether it's things to treat motion sickness. My wife has these little bands. Definitely pack your luggage way in advance. I kind of did mine the night before and didn't have everything I needed. So be it though, because I was able to still see Nashville and do all the things that I wanted to do. On the first night, we came in, and like I said, when my wife came down from her motion sickness, we were able to go out and see the town. We walked down Printer's Alley and then ended up on Broadway kind of inevitably. And as we were walking down Broadway, we ran into the event organizer, Lacey Langford. I got to spend some time with her friends and family, and we just it was very much a welcome aboard. Welcome to Nashville. Hope you're excited for the event. It was definitely great talking to them. And then after that, we went to Dirks Bentley's Whiskey Row, which was a decent restaurant, had a nice open dance floor, uh, nice cold drinks ready for you when you get there. And that's pretty much the extent of our first day in Nashville. Went out really quickly for drinks and then came back to the hotel and got ready for the rest of the event. Um, for Thursday, we started seeing people coming in. Not everybody's there yet because the main event was the last couple days that we were there. One of the things that I was definitely able to do was get to know some of the people that were showing up, either as speakers or as event organizers. Um, One of the cool things was a lot of people that I had already personally known from the first event are returning attendees for this year. So that was definitely an interesting and welcome aspect to the whole entire experience. A lot of the second day, again, people just getting ready for the event. And I was able to meet up with Brandon Childers, who I've had on the podcast, who I work for as a social media manager for his company, Freelance Corporal. We met him, kind of went out for a quick lunch and planned our days ahead. What was going to be our goal going into MilMoneyCon for its second year? We were able to prepare really some of the things that we had planned to do, whether it was the Make Your Point board, which was sponsored by Freelance Corporal this year, or talk to people who were already showing up. So a couple of the people we met, I want to highlight Markia. She was a presenter, and her speech was on social media do's and don'ts for your business. And it was great to hear her, especially from the young generation, like my era of people. And she spoke from an audience that's different than my own. So the Black community is her focus, especially financially, and showing that they also have representation in the financial industry. She herself is a CFEI, which is like certified financial educational instructor. So doing financial education, and it all fits into her TikTok and her way of addressing the financial issues that her community faces. Definitely wanted to highlight her. Some other people that we met, maybe not on that second day, but definitely over the course of the event. Ran back into Kirby Williams, and she works with Advantage Publications, and they do these little sliders that calculate different costs. So say For Freelance Corporal, they did one where it was focused on a vehicle loan and over time how that could cost you. She has other different sliding calculators, and those help kind of visualize some of the numbers that you might see if you make certain financial decisions, whether that's retirement investing or the loan rates on a vehicle or a home versus time and how it can impact your finances, whether good or bad. On the third day, we actually got into the start of the event, and like, what a kickoff, because everybody who was there, you started to see them light up, start talking to people. People were handing out business cards, and everybody got very, very busy with, just kind of, okay, this is the event. The keynote, which I wanted to highlight this specifically, Dr. Eric Elgin, he was a speaker there for the keynote, and what he talked about was the links between mental health and not only homelessness and other further mental health and further financial problems, but also suicide. I think this was a much bigger part of the discussion this year because mental health and suicide, as we know, coming out of COVID, coming out of recessionary periods, we start to see a lot of people struggle, and it's hard to avoid. Um, and we do need to talk about it as an effect of that, because if we're not speaking it to it, we're currently not addressing our audience. And without addressing in our audience, we're not going to receive any clients. We're not going to receive any listeners. And overall, our work sees less results and less effect on the communities we're trying to reach. So a lot of the discussions were also focused around, okay, well, who are you talking to? Like, if you're a financial advisor, if you're a financial literacy content creator, or if you're a business owner and you're trying to reach someone who's struggling financially and try and help them, who are they? Who is your audience? And kind of creating an avatar of who your customers are, who your audience is, and new ways to build out that mindset of the person who's trying to help other people. Um, a lot of business ownership topics there included, how to start a business, how to achieve certifications, whether it's women owned, Black owned, veteran owned, a variety of different things that can help you with grants and earning potential and raising capital for your business. And the one talk that I spoke about earlier, and wanted to highlight, Marquia Brown, and also Brandon Lovinger, Stephanie Montag, and Daniel Kopp. So they all discussed what are some of the do's and don'ts in social media. And of course, a couple of these people I've met before at previous events, but also there were newcomers. I personally talked to Marquia Brown, and her audience, like I said earlier, is the Black community, and she wants especially young Black adults to be able to find someone that they can see as, themselves, and she wants them to have someone with experience, i.e., she's a certified financial educator, and she wants to bring them into her audience and teach them. So how does she do that? She knows who she's talking to. So she's reaching out in the social media channels that they're active in, whether that's, they're in the comments on certain music that they like, or certain different aspects of their life that they're focused on day to day. She's bringing her brand and her take on certain situations and bringing it to the forefront right where they are. So meeting her audience where they are is much more effective than, say, throwing content and just waiting for people to find her. She's very proactive. Brandon Lovinger, he was the moderator. He actually, this year, and I'll talk about this again later, but he has received ambassadorship from the event organizer, Lacey Langford, and he will go on to become an ambassador and lead kind of this effort to spread the good word about what MilMoneyCon is and kind of bring people into the loop that didn't have access to the program before. I know that he was active duty and had sacrificed a lot of his own personal time and money to attend the first event, so that was huge. And he's also a fellow podcaster, so definitely wanted to highlight Brandon as well. Stephanie, the founder of Pop and Smoke, which is her travel blog, she kind of talked about her personal experiences with what her content looks like and how to actually effectively manage her platform. Daniel Kopp, his audience is very specific, so he himself was became a widower in his personal life. So his audience and his customer base, the people that he tries to help, are typically widows or military spouses, and he focuses on helping them with their financial plans. A lot of these people are just so dedicated to their craft, so it's great to hear from them. So that's my big day one highlights. Outside of that, there was also the sit rep with Andrew Cohen, who is the financial director over the DoD Office of Financial Readiness. And he spoke a lot more freely this year. I think he was in a bit more of a comfortable environment because it was a crowd of people that had already come to know him from the first event, and also a new crowd of primarily active duty and kind of the community that understands, like, okay, this is a great opportunity to get to speak to someone who's at a much higher level and be able to discuss with them kind of the goings on in the official DoD channels for veterans and financial readiness. So the questions that were asked there kind of focused and centered around, how can we make this better? How can we assist and get our younger troops and the people who need that financial advice the most? How do we get them what they need, and how do we enforce it with policy in a way? And again, MilMoneyCon, the way that you can think of it is the financial industry and military veterans, active duty, spouses, reserves. They all get together in one area and kind of have these discussions. And that includes people that are kind of in the middle, whether it's an active duty person that has a tax business or someone who's a financial planner and they're a veteran. Those communities actually have a pretty decent amount of overlap, and surprisingly, it's not all the same crowd. So you'll get to meet a lot of different and unique people. And that's one of my more favorite aspects of it, is just meeting people, whether they have like goals or interests, and then kind of seeing where we all overlap. I do want to talk briefly about all of the aspects of trying to maintain a little bit of professionalism and be accountable and attend meetings, while also understanding that every night I'm going to Broadway in Nashville. It was definitely an experience, coming back to the hotel very late at night and then waking up early in the morning to get breakfast, coffee, and just roll right into the same, financial discussions, business ownership talks, and learning from other people that were there. We'll roll into Saturday. So Saturday there was a big talk on trademarks, how to actually achieve trademarks, how to make trademarks actually, efficient and do what you want them to do, which is prevent another business from either taking your idea or um, stealing from you or ripping off the core of what your business is. Then we talked how to build a marketing and sales funnel that attracts, nurtures, and converts your ideal clients. Again, wanted to talk about Daniel Cup because he ran that one as well. But just talking about all of the different ways that you can run a business and what you need to know as a business owner. Those are things that my wife and I really came there for because we're trying to own a business. Um, on top of that, I'm a podcaster in financial literacy space, so it definitely helped me. And I know a lot of people from the FinCon community, which is a separate event that I've talked about before. We have overlap with them because a lot of them are involved in the making and helping this event grow. And a lot of them also speak at this event, and they go to FinCon as well, and some speak there. Um, but there's definitely a lot of overlap. The communities at FinCon, which is money nerds, and the financial money nerds that are in MilMoneyCon. There are a lot of also like military focused, program focused. I know there was a talk on how to, you know, increase your valuation as a veteran business trying to sell your business and exit, or how to get, certifications for your business. I know Kirby Williams, like I had mentioned earlier, she was one of the people talking there and going through the SBA and her experiences, some of the hurdles she faced, whether or not they were necessary, and where she kind of made some mistakes early on trying to get veteran owned and women owned business certifications. Those kinds of things were brought up. Um, Additionally, there are meetups, whether it's a podcasting meetup, which I started this year. It was an event started by somebody else last year, but I continued to carry that podcasting torch because now it's something near and dear to me. I think anyone who podcasts in the financial space would have a great time at MilMoneyCon. And I know a lot of the things that I learned about podcasting came from this event originally. Um, I can't say enough good things. On the last bit of the day, we kind of closed it with a keynote, and that was by the 18th Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, who is now overseeing, as a CEO, the Air Force Aid Society. His discussion, it touched me a lot, and I think a lot of people in the audience kind of resonated with it because he spoke, as a young soldier, he had his car repossessed, and then over time, he kind of had to pivot and discover new ways for himself to grow, not only as a leader, experiencing and going through hard times with money, but now as someone who is like one of the people that have the most experience, what can he do to make it better for other people, and bringing his knowledge and his experiences with finances in the military, and really taking his position and turning it into something that is more beneficial for the people that are under him and the people that he's working to help every day. um that was the bulk of what I had as far as notes discussion on MilMoneyCon. There were a few other things that I would love to highlight. This year, there was a different thing where last year we kind of had some conversations about introverted versus extroverted. I think we've broken that barrier. And it wasn't very difficult. We brought a very American and down home, like Nashville, Tennessee, kind of take to it, where we passed around these gold painted footballs and everybody had to sign it. And if you hadn't signed it, and you had to, someone signed it originally, right? Chicken before the egg, or egg before the chicken. No one knows. So the first person takes it, and then they have to then hold on to it until they find someone they don't know. And at that point, they have to introduce themselves and ask the other person, who are you? What do you do? And it became a very good networking tool. And there were 3 golden footballs, one named Chuck Norris, one named Rip Wheeler, and one named Dolly. Obviously, became a very popular event to run downstairs and see if you could find anybody in the lobby. You have the ball now. You have to go chase somebody down and introduce yourself to them. It was very beneficial, and we had a lot of good discussions. I know my wife did a small business ownership discussion where she brought people in, and as they came in, we passed the ball to them because we got it in the elevator. But it was cool to see people discussing more, meeting each other. Um, Again, I talked about Friday night. We brought a group that we now dub the Avengers. We had Markia Brown, we had Simon, who runs Refund Wiz and Moss Refund. We had Brandon Childers, who I've had on the podcast before. He's the CEO and founder of Freelance Corporal. Myself and my wife, I run a podcast, and my wife and I are trying to run a business and start a business. We also had Melissa Washington, who I just recently had on the podcast, who is at Stellarfi, but she also represents and is trying to build financial literacy in Hispanic and Latino communities. And then we also had we had eaten a separate day at a separate restaurant, but Kirby Williams, who's also part of the group, and she does the sliding calculators that I talked about. But overall, Nashville was a good time. We got to see a lot of different and new aspects of what a big city looks like versus Jacksonville, North Carolina. I don't think we're ever nearly as busy as downtown Nashville here. Um, you don't just see hundreds of people to the point where police have to like walk off the street at the end of the night on the weekend, or even just like the different means of transport. Like Uber here will take so much longer than it did there. Definitely had an experience getting back to the airport to go home. But I wanted to take the time to discuss MilMoneyCon 23 and all of the great things that I was able to learn and gather there. Um, Hope to see some audience members there, or anyone else who's interested in MilMoneyCon 23. Would love to talk to you more about it. Other than that, if you enjoyed this episode, tune in next week. I will have more content for you, hopefully with someone who was also an attendee at MilMoneyCon. They can share their story. Have a great one.